Hi everybody, I'm Phil Fatika. I have a great idea for you today. Let's go sailing on the Niagara. If you have never been, now's the time to seriously consider doing that. And here's the man sitting next to me, Sean Vaskevich, who's going to tell you how you can do that. Sean, welcome aboard. I want to go aboard on the Niagara. You are the executive director of the Niagara League. Is that your fair title?
Correct.
Captain
Yeah.
in charge?
Thanks for having me.
Commander of the seas and everything. Commander of everything. This is just terrific. It's one of our great jewels in the crown, so to speak. We had the tall ships here last year. The tall ships are coming in 2016. We'll come to all of that. But before, you guys just got a pretty big grant from the state. And right now, when people are saying, well, the Niagara's not doing anything, Sean's not very busy, you're going, no, it's a busy time. What'd you get? What are you doing?
Well, we received a $4.8 million grant from the state, which is the biggest grant in our 30-year history. So after tall ships in 2016, the ship's going to be laid up for 18 months. So tall ships will happen the weekend of September 10th of 2016, and then we'll be laid up from October 2016 until May of 2018. Taking off 2017 for the refit. So it's a pretty big project. It's called the 25-year midlife refit project, and basically that money is going to go to overhaul the ship, take care of any rot. We're going to increase the sustainability and things like that. So we're really excited because with this grant, it's going to push us into the next 25 years.
It doesn't seem possible that this is occurring. Will the refit be done here in Erie?
It will be. It'll be done right where we're currently docked. So the project.
Will the public be able to see that, or?
Yeah, the project's going to incorporate a sky bridge that's going to be built over the ship, so people can go up on the deck and kind of look down in and see the work that's going on. We're going to be providing educational programming while it's happening. So it's all going to be done in our backyard and keeping the money local.
That's just great. When you say 25 years, I assume that the ship has a life, and this is about its half-life right now?
Correct.
You mean you'll get about 50 years out of this current Niagara, and then after that it's just pretty difficult to maintain?
Right. Yeah, our budget's about $1.5 million a year, and about half of that budget goes towards running the ship.
Yeah.
So that includes repairs and maintenance and the crew's salaries and benefits.
As I said earlier, can the people... Are you still taking day trips? Are you still allowing, well, not allowing, you still want people to come out and...
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, tell us about that. How do you do that? I want to go, I want to take the grandkids, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. We're in the process of finalizing our 2015 sailing schedule. So that should be out sometime middle of March. So
Got
about
a website
another
that they can find that on?
Yeah, they can go to www.flagshipniagara.org. Once our sailing schedule's up there, you'll be able to see where we are. When we're at home doing day sails, you'll be able to track us. So it's a pretty neat device, and it's $85 for non-members and $75 for members of the Flagship Niagara League to go on a 5-hour sail.
Not a 3-hour cruise with the captain and anybody else.
Right.
This is a little longer. We're not going to shipwreck, right?
Right.
Okay. You mentioned that the tall ships coming back to Erie in 2016. Well, I think everybody remembers when they were just here, and they're going, give us more, give us more. The weather was perfect. We had an opportunity to go out on some of the boats, and people just marvel at this. And I will say the Niagara is a living, breathing thing. You can sense that when you go out and you sail on it. So please go and sail on it. And tell me, you got a training aboard, student training, people come up. We got a little video to show people. Tell me all about that. How do you get to do that? That is so cool.
Yeah, Joe Langaze is our Director of Marine Operations, and his primary job in the off-season is to go to all these high schools and colleges to show off our program. So it's a 3-week program. It's for high school and college kids of all ages. They come out, they can live on the ship for 3 weeks. They actually work right alongside with the crew. They're put into one of our divisions. We have 4 different divisions, and they learn basically how to run a ship. And most of the kids that come on board, they actually become crew down the road because they have such a good time. So we have 3 different programs. There's a program in May, a program in July, and a program in August. And if you go onto our website, you can also see more information on the programs.
Okay, I noticed right behind us you have that banner. It says Student and Corporate Sailing Programs, and then of course the iconic Don't Give Up the Ship. I have to stress, and I think you will too, this is not an easy thing to do. In the past, I've had friends that would sail with you for about a week or so, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're sweating hot and dirty and you need a shower, they go, there's the lake.
Right.
Bring the soap with you, jump in, right? It's not going to be the maid at the Holiday Inn
or a
making your
garden
bed.
hose.
Pardon me?
Or a garden hose.
Yeah, it is truly as it perhaps used to be, right?
Right.
Now, what do they eat? The same old potato soup or
Well, we
water
have
with the potato flavor?
we have a full-time cook on board. So there's an authentic wood stove right below deck, and we have a full-time cook that we pay that basically his or her job cooks 3 meals a day for these people. But
Okay.
the living quarters, you're not going on a Carnival cruise, let's say,
There
for
you
3
go.
weeks.
I'm 6'2", and I go underneath. Boy, it's I got to duck my head. Are they still sleeping in hammocks?
Yeah, there's hammocks down below. When it's really hot outside, there's people that just lay up on the deck above. So, you know, it's not for everybody, but the one thing I can tell you is that you'll learn everything you want to know about sail training. Captain Sabatini and our senior captain Walter Ripka, they're very well known in the sailing community. And Niagara is actually the biggest tall ship, the biggest wooden tall ship sailing in the United States, and it's right in our own backyard.
Is that so? Really? I was just going to ask you, a lot of communities don't have what we have here. This is pretty unique.
Right, we're the biggest wooden tall ship in the U.S., and we're one of 12.
Amazing, amazing. And it is the ambassador for the state in a sense that it sails wherever it can sail.
Sure. So the way that it works is that PHMC, the Pennsylvania Historic Museum Commission, they own the ship as well as the Erie Maritime Museum. I'm the director of the Flagship Niagara League, which is the management arm which oversees the operations of the ship and the museum.
And attached right to the museum is, of course, the place where you can buy all kinds of great gifts for. And if you're looking for a gift for somebody from out of town or a visitor, or you're looking for something a little special, it's a great place to go. I mean, you don't find these in other stores, at least I believe that, right? Just there at the store?
Sure. We sell Erie merchandise, but there's also Flagship Niagara League merchandise as well as silhouette merchandise of the ship and the museum. Even if you don't want to come into the museum or tour the ship, you can come check out the gift shop at no charge. The museum, it's $10 for regular admission, and it's $8 for members to go in.
Yeah.
So it's a really neat place. We get a lot of out-of-town visitors during the summertime that want to come up, tour the museum, and see the ship. We go out of town to about 10 different ports a year, and it's real fascinating to see the lines of people waiting for a half-hour deck tour in Niagara and other cities.
When you go out of town, that's strictly the crew. That wouldn't be people volunteering, or is it volunteers and crew?
No, it's both.
It's both. So what if I get to, let's say you're going up to somewhere in, I don't know, Lake Michigan or way up at the Upper Peninsula, and I get to Cleveland and I go, oh, I don't like this. This isn't what I thought it would be at all. I'm getting off. Can I do that?
I've been the director for 3 years, and that's happened one time in my 3 years.
Okay. So they sign on for good.
Right.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. Now, without being date specific, because this is going to air at a lot of times, you have a lot of fundraisers to help support this. Beside the proceeds from the museum, without being date specific, how do you get money to keep this thing running?
Sure, we have different fundraisers each year. We have 4 fundraisers this year. So we have the Wintertime at the Maritime event. It's always in February.
Yeah.
Murder Mystery at the museum, Who Killed Captain Sabatini, which is a new event we have. That's an adult game of Clue that's always in March. Then we have our Mariners Ball, which is in June, and that's the big black tie affair that's sold out every year. That's first weekend of June.
Yeah.
And then our golf tournaments in July. So those are our 4 major events that, between those 4 major events, we receive about $250,000 of revenue that goes towards the bottom line. In addition to that, we have capital campaigns and annual campaigns and things like that. So we have a lot of different funding sources, and one of my main jobs is to find grant money and new donors. So one of the things that we're excited about is in December we got approved to be an EITC organization. So now we
That
can
stands for?
Earned Income Tax Credit.
Okay.
So there's a lot of businesses in town that may not have the budget financially to support us through marketing and sponsorship dollars, but they give us or give any organization nonprofit money as a tax shelter. And we use that money for educational programming. We can serve underprivileged kids in the community that can come to the museum at no charge through this grant. So
Right.
we have a lot of neat things going on with that new funding stream as well.
Yeah. I think people maybe or maybe not be surprised that keeping this thing afloat it requires dollars. There's no doubt about it. And if you're going down to the library and you get to the one level up there, you can look down and see where the ship is berthed. you will see that the water around the ship does not freeze if you go there when we're taping, when it's really cold. And that is on purpose. And would you tell us about that?
Yeah, we have a bubbler system. So if you're looking down or if you're around the ship, you'll see about 8 to 10 bubblers all around the ship. And they're basically bubbling the water to keep the water unfrozen, so to speak. So I think this time is the first time in a very long time that the Great Lakes is completely frozen.
Yeah.
So it's real important for the integrity of the ship and the repairs and maintenance aspect to make sure that those bubblers are working in the wintertime, especially when it's cold. And we have a designated crew member that checks those bubblers every night and in the morning.
I remember when the ship was decided it would be reconstructed, and people would flock down and watch the people working on the ship by hand tools, drilling, pounding wooden pegs in. The hemp was between the cracks. I mean, do you remember that? Or were you a little too young?
I've been told that.
Oops, I gave away my age there. And I remember when they lifted the hull and put it into the water, and that was about 1990, I think, 1989?
1988.
88,
yeah.
Okay, then I was pretty close to that one. And then they put the masts on, and the excitement when she sails.
Yeah.
You don't remember that either, I would assume.
I was in high school.
It's okay, it's okay. Well, since then, it is not only sailed, but it continues sailing, and it is just an immense, iconic image of the city and of our heritage. Let's talk back a little bit about the heritage. The Niagara was involved in the 1812 Battle of Lake Erie. How so?
Well, it's one of Perry's fleet. Okay. So the Niagara played a main role. If you talk to our senior captain, he has a real interesting story, because he'll tell you that if it wasn't for a wind shift, we would be Canadian. You know, if you read anything on history, you'll find that there is a sand barge, and you know, it was problems for the British coming over on the barge and things like that, which actually shielded them. So there's all kinds of heroes, you know, Dobbins and Perry and all kinds of different people. But, you know, the historic significance of it, we just celebrated the 200th anniversary in 2013 of the Battle of Lake Erie. And that primarily helped us spin off the Tall Ships 2013. So from a historical point of view, we celebrated 200 years of Niagara's importance of that battle. But from a revenue point of view, that Tall Ships event made us close to $500,000, which is our biggest fundraiser in our history. What I also tell people is that it was the biggest fundraiser for the Niagara, but it was also a fundraiser for our hometown. Visit Erie did an economic impact study where they estimated over $6 million was generated for businesses in Erie County over those 4 days.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's an economic machine, there's no doubt. Maybe we go, oh, ho-hum, the Niagara sailing, but when you see it out there and all 13 sails are up, man, that just takes your breath away. I don't care how many times you've seen it. That is just really, really cool. Again, the Tall Ships, though, are coming back to Erie in 2016, and if you didn't see them in 2013, people were lined up everywhere, everywhere. And as they came through the channel and made the circle around the bay and came back to dock, people were just everywhere, just cameras. And we were fortunate enough to go out on the one, I think it was the schooner from Florida. It was wooden, and the young man who was the captain and also the owner of the boat had a great story to tell us about this. And so you contribute to that, this iconic "Don't Give Up the Ship." How did that come about? What was the command, "Don't give up the ship"?
Well, that came about, you know, there's somebody I was talking to here about the slogan being on T-shirts and things like that. You know, that slogan is owned by the U.S. Navy.
It is owned by the...
And we, you know, being part of the Navy and the representation of the ship, we're allowed to use that slogan for merchandise.
Okay.
So if you come down to the gift shop, you'll be able to buy "Don't Give Up the Ship" T-shirts and flags and mugs and things like that, because we can sell those from the Navy. But if you go anywhere else and you see that, that's illegal. But we get our marching orders from the state, and that slogan is the iconic slogan from the Navy.
And we have met the enemy.
And they are ours.
They are ours. Who said that? Which commander said that? Was it Perry? Or was it?
I think it was Perry.
Yeah, I do too. And he listed what is ours, you know, to this. Yeah, these have become iconic American slogans. And you're right about if the wind had shifted, because if you look at it from a Canadian standpoint, they go, we didn't lose this war. You know, it was a tie as far as we were concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, the people that you talk to have different stories.
Yes.
So if you're an American, you won, you know, if you're on the other side, they won, or there's a tie. But, you know, the one thing that I want to go back to, you talk about this historic relevance of the ship. And,
Please.
you know, when people come down and see the ship, everything on the ship is, we try to make it as authentic as possible. So, you know, the wood-burning stove, that's very similar to the stove that they would have had 200 years ago. You go down and talk to the cook about how they feel after they cook a meal down there. By the way, they're sweating and everything else. But the wood and the look of it, you know, there's some representations when you see pictures of the Niagara of a steering wheel. Well, you don't drive the ship with the steering wheel, so to speak. There's a tiller.
The tiller. Yeah.
So, you know, we try to keep the integrity and the history of the ship as realistic as possible, and people see that when they come down.
And I think because of that, it addresses the issue you said, that the ship has to be pampered and changed. I mean, things tend to wear out and break. I don't want to go up, how high is the mast, 110 off the water?
About 100, yeah.
100 feet off the water. And I noticed about a year or two ago, they were doing drillings into one of the masts because they need to check the core to see if the wood is still wood. You know, yeah. There's a lot of. It's a high maintenance vehicle.
Right.
That's for darn sure. But certainly worth it because of the economic money numbers that you said this thing brings in.
And we're the ship is inspected by the United States Coast Guard every year, so we can't sail without that certificate. And then with the certificate, we have to go to dry docking twice every 5 years just to, you know, make sure that there's no rot, there's no issues. So, you know, for us, it's a big deal because sometimes you go to dry docking expecting not to find anything and you have a $100,000 bill. Whoa. And there's other times that you go there and you get a clean inspection. But the point is that, you know, we're very safe. It's a historic vessel, but we have to have that COI, the Certificate of Inspection, to sail every summer.
Have you sailed on it while it's pulled into big ports? Were you there when they sailed into New York City? I don't know how many years ago that was. Were you aboard then at all?
Yeah, I was told that, but that was back in the late 90s. So our certificate's a little different now. Back in the 90s, we sailed in the Atlantic Ocean. So if you did some history, you'd know that we went to Philadelphia, Boston, New York. But now with our certificate, we basically keep the Niagara in the Great Lakes. One of the things that we're considering for the refit project in 2017 is when we fix the sustainability, basically giving it a few more inches, that with that sustainability, we can go out into the Atlantic.
What do you mean a few more inches? A few more inches, what do you mean?
To basically raise the hull.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm not a captain, so I don't know all the dynamics and things like that. But basically, if you increase, you know, different diameters and things like that on the ship, you can go sailing elsewhere. So it makes it safer and buoyant and things like that. I don't know if that's part of our business plan to go to the Atlantic, because to get there you have to sail up the St. Lawrence Seaway and then back down. So to get there it takes about 3 weeks.
Right.
So if we did go there, we'd basically be gone all summer. But it's something that we're looking at because that's what we did when we first started sailing.
Is it harsh, more harsh on the hull and everything with the salt water, salt air, as opposed to the fresh water and the Great Lakes? It seems like salt water just beats the bejabbers out of anything, motors especially.
Yeah, I think when you talk to our captain, we're basically running a wooden ship, and wood rots in the water, and it sits in the water 365 days a year. So one of the important things in the refit is making sure that we get the right wood. If we get Douglas fir wood, you're going to see these big trucks hauling in wood from the West Coast. So you know, our carpenter Adam, he is very particular when he's doing a project where the wood comes from and who he orders it from, because he wants to get the best stuff. And apparently, you know, like I said, I'm not a carpenter or a sailor, but apparently there's a specific type of wood that he wants to make sure that the integrity of the ship and it lasts for a long time.
I should add too, and I think most people know this, that there is an auxiliary engine on board, right? It's a diesel engine, because you meet some places where you just aren't moving in the water, you know.
Right.
You need that to get through channels and into certain tight ports. A little bit of explanation about that.
Yeah, we have 2 engines on board. We basically try to sail everywhere we go as part of our sail training program. Sometimes we have a real tight time crunch that we have to make it from point A to point B. So if we're sailing someplace and we pull out on Monday and we have to report by Thursday for another festival and we have a very short time frame to get there, we'll motor the whole way. So, you know, from our business model, we try to make enough time in the schedule where we can give the crew and the trainees enough time that they can sail and get the experience. But there's sometimes when we're in a time crunch, or quite frankly, the crew's been on the road for 6 weeks and they just want to get home, where they just hit the throttle and try to get home.
Just try to get home, sure. Again, this is Sean Waskevich, and he is the Executive Director of the Flagship Niagara League. And I want to go back to the part where you can help, because you can be a part of the sailing programs, student and corporate sailing programs. Sure. You can get on board, you can tote that barge, lift that bale. Tell us about that again. How do you do that? Phone numbers, websites, all the information necessary.
Yeah, the phone number is 814-452-2744, and you want to ask for Joe. He's the guy that coordinates all the sailing programs. From a live aboard trainee program, like I said, it's a 3-week program, either in May, July, or August. High school or college program, and then we also have team building sales that we can get corporate sponsors out.
Sounds nice. Are you going to sign up and do that?
I will.
Okay.
I will. Do you have your checkbook in your pocket there to make a donation?
I left it home, but definitely I will do that. And let me ask you, of course, there's a cost associated with this. Is that correct? And again, the cost is?
It's $1,500 for 3 weeks, and that provides the trainee all their meals on board and the experience.
And so you're gone for 3 weeks, and you're going to tell your husband, wife, whomever, I'll see you in about a month. But I'll be joining Earl Flynn on the Spanish Main or somebody, or what was the Master and Commander Russell Crowe? Yeah, that was a great sailing movie too.
And if you're interested in volunteering, by the way, you know, there's volunteers that can sail for free. So, you know, you don't necessarily have to pay $1,500. So we have a crew of people that, you know, there's about 60 trainees that come that we have the ability to have on board. And then we also have 40 crew who are seasonal, full-time crew, and also volunteers. So, you know, Joe is also the guy that if you're interested in volunteering, give him a call. And if your schedule is flexible and stuff like that, we're also looking for people.
That's good information. And again, that phone number, that's important. People can, or your website, either one, both.
Sure. Yeah, the phone again is 814-452-2744, and the website is www.flagshipniagara.org.
Again, Sean Waskevich, he's the Executive Director, and I would assume this, no matter where they have it, like Pride of Baltimore or other places that have these tall ships, are pretty much the same way that you function here, that you have to have this money coming in to support this, and you have to be able to do this, because this is, and I don't mean this in any other way, this is not a cheap date.
Sure.
This can be quite expensive. And it is something, though, that I think people today should know and value, that this is part of our warp and woof here. We live hard by the water, and this is where wars were fought and people died and people went to sail, and the iconic "Don't Give Up the Ship," which you said that is owned by the
U.S. Navy.
I'll be darned. I didn't
realize that. We're really proud, you know, when we sailed to these other cities, Buffalo, Detroit, Cleveland, Green Bay, Milwaukee, Chicago, all these different places we go to, you know, we're representing our hometown of Erie, but also the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So, you know, we do a pretty good job of handing out, you know, brochures, trying to get tourism here, and just happy to be promoting our own backyard.
Yeah. We've got a couple minutes left. One of the big events that happened was in 2013, the tall ships coming to Erie, thousands and thousands of people showing up, wanting to see them come in, wanting to go on board, just wanting to be a part of the whole historical perspective of that. Dr. Bill Garvey was a formulator of that. He put that together. I mean, that probably wouldn't have happened without his input, and we thank him for that. But get ready, because in 2016, if you missed it in 2013, Captain Sean here will tell you what's going to be happening. What is it, Sean?
Yeah, in 2013 we had 10 ships here, and we're planning on having another 10 ships here in 2016.
Cool.
We're in the process of trying to find a couple of different ships so people have something different to see. We actually signed our first ship contract already. The Dennis Sullivan, she's docked in Milwaukee. She'll be coming here in 2016. So going to be the same business model as we used before. There's going to be 4 ships tied up to the Bayfront Convention Center. There's going to be ships behind the the Erie Maritime Museum, and then there's going to be 3 or 4 vessels that are running day sails off of Dobbins Landing. So the structure is the same, and one of the things that we want to try to do is continue with the entertainment, make sure that there's good historians coming in giving educational lectures, there's shanty music for entertainment, there's kids activities, you know, to keep them busy. So, you know, the main focus is to come down and support all the tall ships across the country, but also to bring your family down, and there's going to be a whole bunch of things to do while you're there.
It was a great time. I enjoyed myself immensely when I was there, and thanks to you that this is going to happen again, because this is not a small thing to do. This is a very big thing to put on. We have a couple of minutes left. Make your best pitch for student and corporate sailing programs, the fundraisers that are necessary for you to continue, because even though we're taping in cold, wintry days here, you're still busy and the ship still requires TLC.
Sure. If you're not a member of the Flagship Niagara League, I'd encourage you to join the Niagara League. If you go into our website, flagshipniagara.org, and click on the membership button, you can see the different levels and things like that that we offer. You can become a member as low as $35, and that gets you admittance into the museum and to see the ship when you're downtown. So we try to get different support and members to join throughout the community. There's people as far as Texas that are members just to basically donate and help out that have seen the Niagara while she's sailing around. So we try to increase our membership numbers from a sailing point of view. We offer the Live Aboard trainee program. We offer team building sales with corporate customers. If you want to have a group of friends that come down, we book group sales. So on a sale, we're allowed to take out 60 trainees. But if you have a group of, a dozen friends that are celebrating somebody's birthday or something like that.
How about class reunions?
We did one of those last year. They rented out the whole ship.
Wow. Did you sail, or you were in port? Did you sail?
No, we sailed.
Oh, that would be fun.
So there's
there you go. Class reunions on the Niagara.
So there's all kinds of different opportunities for different groups. One of the other things that we're looking at is the Kiwanis clubs, Rotarians, the Lions clubs. Going to those people, and our captain goes there and gives a lunch spiel to tell them how he became the captain and a little bit about his history. And then those people, we have a whole day for the Rotarians, and we have programming down there, and then we give those guys or gals a discount to sail aboard Niagara. So trying to do more things in the community and get more people aware of what we're doing.
Oh, you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Appreciate that. And thank you for joining us. Take your sailing on the Niagara. Sign up. You have all the information right here from Sean Waskevich from the Erie Niagara League, from the Niagara League. He's the executive director. It's on their website. It's on their phone number. Thanks for being here. It's just a pleasure to see the ship as it just sails out or sails back. It's just magnificent. Thanks for joining us. I'm Phil Fatica. Until next time.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.